Boom.
Sitting on the desk.
Probably. It's the back of my head.
You could sit it right there, and they'd see your front.
Whatever. Let's see. Whatever, girl. Is that better? We'll try that. How does that work? Boom! Nina, look at you. Good idea. This is recorded. Hey. All right, so business plan. Do we know what a business plan is?
A plan of how you're gonna do business.
Boom! No, look at you. That girl's a thinker. She must have some smart parents. Okay, so let's talk about a clothing business. Okay, you're wanting to start a clothing business. So it's you, right? It's you. You, all of you, you're going to be the one that's starting it. What kind of clothes are we going to have in your store?
Comfy.
Comfy clothes. Sweatpants.
Yeah.
Nina loves sweatpants. Nina, you're not wearing sweatpants today.
It's my first day at Pitt.
I'm so proud of you. All right, she's actually dressing nice today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, used to it.
Okay, so you're going to have comfy clothes like sweatpants and what else?
Leggings.
Leggings, aren't they big? Are those considered leggings? Okay, leggings. Are leggings and yoga pants the same thing?
Yeah.
Okay,
Essentially.
all right. So leggings / yoga pants. What else?
Sweatshirts.
Sweatshirts. Okay, do what?
Suits.
Suits. Oh, so we're going from this end to this end. We're going from relaxed to fancy smancy, right? All right. If we have suits, then we got to have what? We got to have ties. We got to have. Oh, did it fall down? Look at that. Boom. Thank you, Nina. All right, so we're going to have sweatpants to suits. All right, who's our customer?
Businessman.
Businessman,
High school student.
high school student,
And mom that stays at home.
mom. So males and females.
Yeah.
High school. What about kids? Are we leaving them out?
Yeah.
We're not having kids close. Okay. Why?
Because it's too much of a difference in things.
All right. Now, how big of a store do we have to have? Pretty big store. Because we got a lot of stuff in there, right? We're going from sweatpants. Are we going to have jeans? Jeans? If we got sweatpants and we got suits, we probably got to have something in between, though. We don't want to go from one end to the other. We got yoga pants over here. Suits over here. We'll have jeans in the middle, and that's sort of in between the two, right?
Then we'd have to get kids.
We could probably get like an upstairs.
Yeah,
Like
upstairs kids.
Okay.
Like
Upstairs.
shoes.
And we got to have shoes. You're saying we got to have shoes?
Yeah.
Well, the Bremens has shoes.
We have half kids, half shoe area. Since kids' clothes are smaller, take up half the room. Have
Yes.
shoes on the other end.
Yeah, itty bitty little people.
Yeah.
Itty bitty little clothes.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
itty bitty little shoes.
Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna have to have a big store. Where are we gonna be located? We're in Calhoun, Georgia. Where are we gonna be located? What's it?
Oh, we have to. It's gonna be coming. Yes.
Well, let's say it is, just for the sake of kicks and giggles, because we gotta do something we're familiar with. So where do we want to put it in Calhoun?
Right next to Hibbett's.
Next to Hibbett's, which is
Oh, it's
Behind
the
Chick-fil-A.
old goodies.
behind Chick-fil-A.
Old goodies.
The old goodies,
Okay.
that would be a good spot.
Yeah, but-
Is that place empty now?
Probably.
Oh.
Oh, there's a food depot. I mean,
No, that's to the down right, I think.
okay then, yeah.
Do what?
That's where Eagles was, the food depot.
Right. Angles is now food. Is it Depot?
Yeah.
Food Depot. It was
It's like
food something.
Food Depot, there's a Cato, and then there was Goodies, and then Tractor Supply, but Goodies got torn down. Or not
So-
torn down,
so-
torn down.
Do what? Do we think Goodies is not there? I mean, there's nothing where Goodies was.
I don't think.
All right. So let's say that it's not. That should be a bigger place, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
So are we gonna have room to put everything from sweatpants, yoga pants, jeans, kids' clothes, shoes, suits and ties?
Probably, yeah.
You think?
Because Denny's had all that, didn't he? I don't know.
I don't think they had suits and stuff like that. All right, here's my point. Are we gonna be able to be everything to everyone? In our business plan, we have to narrow it down and say, look, we want this to be our customer. Like there are stores that all they do is big and tall, right? That's it. They don't do normal. They do big and tall. Tall, Fight Master big, right? And so they've got like 7X stuff. And so, yeah. And then they've got 36-inch inseam. Like most clothes, the longest you can get is 34. And a lot of times, it's only 32. So, big and tall stores, they might have 38 or 40 inseam. I mean, you talk about some legs on a dude. You know, I'm gonna assume that long it's gonna be on the guy, but if it's a female, then she's got some big old long legs. And I don't know how, females' pants aren't measured the same, are they? What they doing different?
If you get like Levi's or something, it just depends where you go.
Yeah, I don't know about females' clothes because I'm not a female. So what we gotta do is we gotta think about, in our business plan, if we're gonna start a clothing store, where we're gonna be, how much the rent is, what the expected utilities are for the next year, because it may change based on the weather, whether it's hot or cold. We gotta think about what kind of clothes we're gonna have, how many different styles, if we're gonna be like fancy smancy or we're gonna be very relaxed. So we gotta think if we're gonna have shoes, if we're, all those things. And then we gotta think about how much all that inventory is gonna cost, because who's got to pay for that inventory if it's your store? You do. And you're like, oh, no. I mean, it's gonna cost me $500,000 in inventory, or whatever. And then you gotta think about how many employees you're gonna have. Employees, right? Doggone. Then somebody's got to manage those employees. And those employees, do they manage themselves? No. So they will drive you crazy. So somebody's got to manage the employees. Somebody's got to be responsible for the finances. You got to check the drawers at the end of each shift. At the end of the night, you got to close the drawer out and you got to make sure that it matches sales. Then somebody's got to stock the shelves or stock the whatever. And you got to have an ongoing inventory, and then you got to check inventory to make sure that the inventory matches up with what you think your inventory does, and all this stuff. And you got to put that in your business plan, because you got to think through the details. And then you give that business plan after you've worked on it and worked on it and worked on it. You give it to someone who's experienced in that area, I would hope. And then you say, Emma, you've worked for this retail clothing store for years. Can you read this through to me? Or for me? And then give me some feedback. And she says, did you think about this? And you're like, oh, no, I didn't think about that. And so at the end of it, she says, that looks pretty good. So then you take it to somebody else. And then you finally take it to the bank with you and you say, hey, look, I need a loan. And here's what I'm gonna do. They'll say, can I see your business plan? And you slap that business plan down and it looks sharp. And or you're looking for investors and you throw the business plan down and it looks sharp. Or it looks like it was written on the back of a dog food bag. And they say, no, I don't think so. So that's the purpose in a business plan. And it's real, real important. So Nita's going to work for Vintage today.
Yeah.
Are you excited?
Yeah.
Nita's going to learn a tremendous amount, and I'm really excited for her. And she needs to ask a lot of questions, and she needs to smile and be nice to employees, and and all that good stuff. So she's going to learn a tremendous amount. And as she goes, basically, whether she realizes it or not, she's running through a mental business plan. You know, what kind of customers are we coming in contact with? What is our inventory in here? How do we do business? How much do we expect to bring in on a monthly basis as far as revenue goes? And then what's our leftover profit? What's our overhead? What does electricity cost in that building? How much do we pay on a payment for that building or on rent for that building? All those things. Because a business runs by three basic things, okay? Revenue. What's revenue?
All the stuff you have.
Good. No, that's a good guess. But no. What is revenue? This is a word that we all need to be greatly familiar with. Revenue is the total money brought in on a certain basis, let's say in a month. Revenue is the total amount of money brought into a business in a month. Then, is all that ours? No, that goes to, and then out of that goes to employees, to inventory, to lights, to rent, blah, 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 right?
How do you spell that?
REVENUE. And so you have revenue minus, what do we call all the money going out? Expenses. And then expenses, how much we pay our employees, the water, the electricity, the inventory, the blah, 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 you know, all those expenses, and they add up quick. So revenue minus expenses equals what?
Profit.
Profit. Boom, boom, boom. And if you're the lady that owns Pinterest, Pintage, then what you want is you want some money left over. It's called profit. If you own Chick-fil-A, you've got revenue minus expenses, and you hope you have something left over that's called profit. If you have a business that has $4 million worth of revenue, are you making a lot of money?
Probably.
Probably, maybe. What about if your expenses are $4.5 million
It
a year?
depends on how big the business is.
Then you just lost $500,000 that year, right? Does that happen?
Yeah.
All the time. So you can have a huge revenue, but even bigger expenses, and you lose money. So what you want to do is you want to increase your revenue, you want to reduce your expenses. That's why sometimes at work, they'll say, we can't have any overtime. Have you ever heard that? We can't have any overtime. Because overtime, bless you, overtime eats into the expenses, increases the expenses because it's time and a half. And then that may destroy your profit for that week, that month, that quarter, that year, right? So they may be stingy, or they may just be trying to be smart, and sometimes those two may actually line up. But yes, ma'am.
So if you say revenue, it doesn't have, like, it's not a month. You can say your revenue for the year. Could you say it's not like a certain amount of time?
We could say our revenue for today, and in fact, a lot of businesses do that. They'll say what, and only they may say sales. What was sales for today? Back when Cohen worked at Taqueritas, I was in there one day. Well, actually, it was before he even got the job. I was, because I went in there and I talked to the manager, and the owner came in to Taqueritas. This is in Auburn, Alabama, and I was sitting there eating my meal that I'd ordered. And I didn't have an intention of trying to get my son a job. It just sort of worked out that way because he was moving there. So I was talking to the manager, and somewhere along the way during the conversation, the owner came in. He said, "Hey, what's sales today?" And he gave a number. He said, "Well, it's been a little slow on this. Food sales have been pretty good, but they sold beer and stuff like that." And he said, "But alcohol sales have been real low today." And so what they were talking about is revenue, right? How much revenue have we had today? So they may do it on a daily basis. And I bet you they do it on a weekly basis, and then you know they do it on a monthly basis, and they gotta have all that for tax purposes. And then they have to pay taxes out, which is additional expenses, right? And at the end of the day, what is the owner looking for? The P word. Profit, right? He's hoping to goodness he's got something left over. Because if you own a business and you have revenue and then you got expenses and there's nothing left over, how much do you get paid as the owner?
No, because you have to pay your employees first.
Right. Pay employees first, because if you don't pay the employees, are you gonna be there at Trackside Pizza? No. If the owner says, well, we didn't make any profits, you don't get paid this month. You're like, ooh, see you later. I want Taco Bell. And so, the owner doesn't get paid. In fact, what about if the owner has more expenses than revenue? And it does like this. And it's $500 more per week in expenses than it is revenue. Guess who has to cover that? The owner does. So he not only doesn't make any money that week, he loses money. He's having to dig into his bank account. Hopefully he has some. If he doesn't have any in the bank account and he can't get any more loans, what happens?
And he just lost his employees, so he loses.
Well, if he runs out of money, he's probably gonna shut the business down. That's what's happening during all this virus stuff. They're still having to pay their rent on their building probably. They're probably having to pay utilities. They may be trying to keep their employees, and they don't have enough revenue coming in because they can't bring as many people in the door because they have to spread them out so much in a restaurant. You've seen that, right? So maybe they can't bring in enough revenue, but their expenses are still high. And so some of them say, I'm closing the doors for good. So that's stinky. Bad stuff. All right, so that's the business plan. All right, let's stop this thing.